The settlement on Erythra 7 was quiet. The wind howled across the red plains, stirring dust into small clouds. The humans in the colony had learned to live with the harsh environment, but it was never easy. Machines hummed in the background, repairing damaged solar panels. Scientists moved carefully, testing energy cells and monitoring weather patterns. Every day was a struggle, and every day the humans felt isolated, far from Earth and unprepared for the unknown. Captain Rhea Sanders wiped her brow, squinting at the horizon. A storm was coming, fast and violent. "Everyone inside," she called. The crew obeyed, retreating into reinforced buildings. The colony had survived many storms, but each one tested their endurance. Then it happened. The main lab doors swung open. No warning, no alert. The humans froze. She walked in without knocking. The woman who entered seemed impossible. Her movements were smooth and confident. Her presence filled the room, even though she didn't say a word. Her hair shimmered slightly under the artificial lights, a color the humans had never seen. Her eyes were sharp, intelligent, and curious. She glanced around, assessing the machines, the humans, the room itself, in seconds. Who are you?" One of the engineers stammered, clutching a data pad. The woman smiled, a small, knowing smile. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she reached up to her shoulders and slid off the outer layer of her dress. It fell to the floor in one smooth motion. Beneath it, she wore a suit designed for survival, sleek and practical, yet clearly built with knowledge far beyond human technology. The humans stared. Some stepped back, unsure whether to be afraid or amazed. The woman's movements were calm and deliberate. She bent to pick up the discarded dress, folded it, and placed it neatly aside. Then she looked at them. She winked. It was a small gesture, almost playful, but it sent a ripple through the room. The humans weren't used to this. Someone so confident, so unafraid in their small, struggling colony. "I am Nira," she said finally, her voice calm but strong. "I come from far beyond your stars. I mean no harm, but I am here to help." The humans exchanged nervous glances. Captain Sanders stepped forward. "Help? How? Who sent you?" Nira shook her head slightly. "No one sent me. I found your signals, your distress calls. You do not know it yet, but you are in danger. Danger." That word made hearts race. The humans had faced storms, equipment failures, even small wildlife attacks, but nothing on a galactic scale. The thought of a real threat, unknown and far more powerful, sent a shiver down their spines. Rhea studied Nira carefully. She seemed human at first glance, but her features were slightly different. Subtle differences, but enough to make anyone notice. Her fingers were longer, her movements precise in a way that humans rarely managed. And yet, she was approachable, not threatening, not aggressive. "You must explain," Rhea said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Why are you here? And what do you know about the danger?" Nira moved closer to one of the energy reactors. Her hands hovered over the damaged panels. "This reactor," she said, "is unstable. It will fail if you do not repair it in the next 2 cycles. Your technology is good, but limited. I can fix it, and I can teach you to prevent this in the future." The humans hesitated. They were proud of their work. They did not like being told they were insufficient. But Nira did not wait for permission. She knelt beside the reactor, her fingers moving with precise efficiency. Sparks danced briefly, and a soft hum filled the room. Within minutes, the reactor stabilized, glowing steadily. "Done," she said, standing. She smiled again, and another, small wink followed, almost as if she knew exactly how they would react. The humans could not believe it. The reactor, which had been failing for days, was suddenly stable. One of the younger engineers whispered, How did she do that?" Rhea did not answer immediately. Instead, she studied Nira. "You have knowledge we do not," she said finally. "And I suppose you are not from around here?" Nira nodded. "Correct. I have traveled many systems. I have seen worlds fall because their people could not adapt. You have potential, humans. More than you know. That statement hung in the air. Humans had always struggled against nature, against the unknown, against their own limits. The idea that they had hidden potential was exciting, but also terrifying. Could they really rise to the level Nira suggested? Then a loud roar shook the building. The storm outside had worsened, and equipment alarms went off. Humans scrambled, trying to secure loose panels and protect critical machinery. Nira did not panic. She moved among them, calm and guiding, pointing out faster ways to stabilize equipment, showing them shortcuts and techniques they had never imagined. By the time the storm passed, the humans were exhausted but amazed. They had survived something that might have destroyed their settlement, and they had learned from someone who seemed to belong to a different world entirely. Rhea finally approached Nira, her face serious, but impressed. "You saved us." "Why?" Nira smiled, her eyes bright. "Because I see promise. And because sometimes the galaxy needs a little push to see the strength that lies within. You humans, you are stronger than you know." The words resonated. For the first time in weeks, the humans felt hope. Perhaps they were not just fragile colonists on a distant world. Perhaps they were capable of much more. And as Nira glanced at the humans, her playful wink hinted at a deeper secret. She had chosen this colony for a reason, and their journey together was only beginning. Outside, the red wind continued to blow. But inside the lab, something had changed. Humanity had received its first real lesson in resilience, and an unexpected visitor had shown them that the galaxy was full of surprises, and that they might just survive, and even thrive, against all odds. The morning after Nira's arrival, the colony felt different. The humans moved with a mixture of curiosity and caution. No one spoke much about her wink, or the ease with which she had repaired the reactor. Instead, they focused on something more important: her skills. Rhea Sanders called a meeting in the central hall. The room buzzed with nervous energy. Engineers, scientists, and technicians filled the benches. Their eyes constantly drifted toward the door, expecting Nira to walk in at any moment, just as boldly as the day before. And she did. She strode into the room, her confidence unshaken by the curious stares. "Today," she said, "we begin training. Not for survival in storms or for repairing equipment, for survival in the galaxy." The words caused a stir. The humans exchanged skeptical looks. Most had never traveled beyond their planet. Some had barely left the colony's perimeter. Now a stranger suggested they could survive the galaxy. Rhea raised a hand. "What do you mean?" Nira walked toward a large hollow table in the center of the room. With a flick of her wrist, alien symbols and star maps appeared. "Your world is harsh, but the galaxy is harsher. You will face dangers that no human has imagined. Asteroid storms, solar flares, hostile species. To survive, you must adapt faster than nature allows." An engineer muttered under his breath. "And you expect us to do what? Fight aliens?" Nira smiled, a glimmer of amusement in her eyes. "Perhaps. But first, you must learn to trust yourselves and your instincts. You must learn to see possibilities where others see limits." She moved toward a damaged drone lying on the floor. Without a word, she picked it up. Her hands moved like liquid, connecting wires, adjusting circuits, and recalibrating sensors. Within moments, the drone whirred to life. Its lights blinked, and it hovered steadily above the floor. The humans stared, their mouths open. How did you do that?" asked Mira, one of the younger engineers. Nira winked. "Focus. Understand the system and let it tell you what it needs. Do not force it. Work with it. Machines, humans, even nature. All follow patterns. Learn them and you can adapt to anything." Rhea studied her closely. She seemed almost casual about feats that would take humans hours or days. "You've seen many worlds, haven't you?" Nira nodded. "Many. Some thrive. Some fail. The difference is always the same: adaptation." Those who survive do not rely on luck. They think, innovate, and act. The humans were silent, absorbing her words. There was a lesson here hidden beneath the ease of her skills. It was not just about repairing machines or surviving storms. It was about something deeper, human potential. Very well, Rhea said. Teach us. Show us how we can adapt. Nira's eyes sparkled. Good. Then we begin with observation. She led them. Outside, the storm had passed, leaving jagged clouds in the sky and the red plains slick with dust. Nira pointed to a cluster of solar panels damaged in the last storm. You see this? She asked. If you had only repaired them as before, they would survive one more storm. But storms get stronger. Patterns change. You must design for unpredictability. She demonstrated modifications using scraps of metal, wiring, and alien tools. The humans watched, mesmerized. Then she handed them the tools. Your turn, she said. Do not copy me. Observe. Think. Adapt. The humans hesitated. They were used to following instructions, not improvising. But as they worked, something remarkable happened. They began to see solutions they had never imagined. A broken panel became a reflective shield. Loose wiring became a protective conduit. Nira moved among them, offering subtle tips, winking, when someone made a clever adjustment. Hours passed. By sunset, the solar array was stronger than before, designed not just for known storms, but for anything the planet might throw at the. The next morning, the sun rose pale and hazy over Erythra 7. Dust swirled across the plains, but inside the colony, a different kind of energy filled the air. Humans moved with purpose, not only repairing equipment, but anticipating challenges. Nira's presence had changed everything. Today, Nira said, standing in the central hall, we leave theory behind. You will face practical tests. You will learn to act when the unexpected arrives. The humans exchanged nervous glances. Some felt excitement, others fear. They had survived storms and fixed machines, but Nira promised something more, something beyond their experience. Rhea stepped forward. What kind of tests? Nira smiled faintly. Situations you will encounter outside this settlement. The galaxy does not wait. You must adapt. And adaptation requires creativity, speed, and courage. She led the group to the training grounds outside. The area was filled with debris, old machines, and rugged terrain. Nira gestured to the humans. You will navigate this field using only your wits and available resources. Your goal is to secure the energy core at the center without relying on instructions. The humans hesitated. The task seemed impossible, but Nira did not wait for them to protest. She started herself, moving quickly over obstacles, lifting panels, creating paths. Every movement was precise, elegant, efficient. She slipped over the terrain as if it belonged to her, scanning every detail. Her speed and skill intimidated them, yet it inspired curiosity. The humans began to move slowly at first, carefully analyzing the ground, the debris, and each other. Nira offered subtle guidance. A hand raised to indicate a safer path, a tilt of her head to show a hidden tool, a quiet wink when someone solved a problem creatively. Hours passed. Sweat and dust covered the humans, but their progress was remarkable. They built bridges from scrap metal, stabilized loose panels, and transported the core without injury. Each time they succeeded, Nira clapped softly or nodded, her approval quiet but powerful. By midday, the humans had completed the task. They were exhausted, but their eyes shone with pride. They realized they had done more than follow instructions. They had thought, improvised, and adapted. Good, Nira said, her voice calm yet strong. You are learning to trust yourselves. That is the most important skill in the galaxy. You cannot wait for someone else to solve your problems. You must act now and think beyond what seems possible. Rhea stepped forward, curiosity and admiration mixing on her face. You make it look easy. How do you do it? Nira's smile was quiet, almost mysterious. I study patterns. I see possibilities. You humans, you have the same potential. You just need to discover it. The humans began to see themselves differently. The timid engineer who had once avoided responsibility now took charge of building a makeshift bridge. The young scientist who doubted her own skills had developed a new method to stabilize unstable panels. Even Rhea felt a surge of confidence she had not experienced before. Over the next few days, Neera expanded the training. She introduced simulations of environmental hazards, acid rains, shifting sands, sudden electrical storms, and taught the humans to respond quickly. She taught them to combine human ingenuity with improvisation, showing that even limited tools could achieve remarkable results if used creatively. One afternoon, she introduced a new lesson. She placed a small drone in a chamber filled with obstacles. Your task, she said, is to retrieve it without touching it physically. You must use only remote control, planning, and adaptation. The humans struggled at first. The drone moved unpredictably and many gave up. Neera watched silently, occasionally winking at those who kept trying. Finally, a young technician, Kyle, discovered a clever solution. He combined reflective surfaces to redirect sensors and slowly guided the drone to safety. Neera clapped softly. Well done. Not because you followed instructions, but because you observed, adapted, and solved the problem. That is the skill that separates survivors from victims. The humans began to notice a pattern. Neera did not give answers. She gave challenges. She did not praise blindly. She rewarded initiative. And always she encouraged them to think beyond fear and limitation. Rhea observed quietly from the sidelines, understanding a truth she had suspected. Neera had not arrived simply to fix problems. She had arrived to awaken something in the humans. They were no longer just settlers, they were learners, fighters, and innovators. Even at meals, Neera continued her lessons subtly. She questioned assumptions, suggested new approaches, and pushed the humans to consider alternative strategies. Her wink became a quiet symbol of encouragement, a reminder that confidence and cleverness could turn impossible situations into opportunities. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the settlement, Rhea approached Neera privately. You are preparing us for something, she said. I can feel it, but what? Neera looked out over the red plains, the wind stirring the dust. The galaxy is vast and unpredictable, she said. I cannot tell you what will come, but I can prepare you to survive it, and perhaps one day to thrive in it. That is why I'm here. That is why I chose this colony. Rhea nodded slowly. She realized that the humans' struggle against nature, against fear, against doubt, was only the beginning. Neera had opened a door to something larger, a future where humans could face challenges no one else could. That night, as humans rested, the settlement was quiet except for the soft hum of machines. But in the hearts of every colonist, a new energy pulsed, confidence, determination, and a spark of courage. Neera had taught them the first lesson, to trust themselves, to think beyond limits, and to see possibility where others saw only obstacles. Outside, the wind swept the red dust into the darkening sky, and somewhere beyond the stars, Neera's gaze seemed to linger on the humans she had chosen, not because they were ready, but because they could become ready. Humanity had taken its first real steps toward something greater. And under Neera's guidance, those steps were only the beginning. The calm of Erythra 7 did not last. Early one morning, the colony's sensors picked up fast-moving objects approaching from the outer system. At first, the humans thought it might be a meteor shower. But the readings were too organized, too precise. These were not natural objects, they were ships moving in formation, and they carried technology far more advanced than anything the colony possessed. Captain Rhea Sanders watched the screen, her heart pounding. What are they? She whispered. Neera stepped beside her, her expression calm but sharp. Hostile, she said simply. They have seen your signals and consider your settlement a target. You are no longer just colonists. You are potential obstacles. The humans froze. Fear gripped their hearts. They had faced storms, dust avalanches, and equipment failures. But an entire fleet? That was beyond anything they had imagined. Rhea squared her shoulders. We've survived worse. We adapt, we fight, we live. Right? Nira smiled, the familiar hint of mischief in her eyes. Exactly. Now we put what you have learned to the test. This is not practice. This is real. She called the colonists together. The enemy fleet is faster, stronger, and better armed than anything you've seen. If we face them head-on, you will lose. But humans think differently. You improvise. You create. You surprise. That is your strength. She assigned roles based on their skills. Engineers would strengthen defenses. Pilots and mechanics would prepare drones. Scientists would monitor energy flows, ready to reroute power at a moment's notice. Even the youngest colonists were given tasks. Every skill counted. Remember, Nira said, her voice steady. This is not just about surviving. This is about learning how far you can go when you refuse to be limited. Trust your instincts, work as one, and adapt at every turn. As the fleet approached, a wave of panic passed through the colony. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and the ground trembled. But Nira did not panic. She moved among the humans calmly, checking systems, offering advice, and subtly guiding them. Every so often, she winked at someone who executed a task cleverly, reminding them that confidence and ingenuity could turn the tide. The first enemy ships entered the atmosphere. They unleashed waves of energy pulses, testing defenses. Humans scrambled, recalling Nira's lessons. Focus on weak points, use improvisation, protect vital systems. Drones darted between ships, deflecting attacks, and the humans adjusted energy shields dynamically, creating patterns the enemy could not predict. Kyle, the young technician who had solved the drone challenge, found a new use for reflective panels. He angled them to redirect enemy sensors and energy pulses, confusing the attackers. "It's working," he shouted. Nira's smile was quiet, almost proud. "Yes, now think beyond what you see. Anticipate their next move." The humans began to see patterns, just as Nira had taught them. They predicted enemy attacks, set traps, and used the environment, the rocky plains, dust clouds, and storms, to their advantage. The enemy, confident in their technology, faltered. They had expected humans to panic, to fail, but instead, humans adapted, improvised, and countered in ways the aliens had not considered. Rhea led a small team to reinforce a secondary energy hub. Enemy fire struck around them, but they remained focused, using knowledge gained from Nira's training. Each move was calculated, each step planned yet flexible. For the first time, the colonists realized that fear could be channeled into precision, that the impossible could become possible. Hours passed, the fleet had superior numbers. The morning after the enemy fleet withdrew, the colony was quiet but tense. The humans were exhausted, their bodies sore, their minds racing. Yet beneath the fatigue was a spark, a new confidence they had never felt before. Rhea Sanders walked among her team, noticing the subtle changes. Engineers moved with purpose, communicating efficiently. Pilots checked their drones with a level of precision that surprised even themselves. The younger colonists, once timid and hesitant, spoke up with ideas and solutions. They had survived the first test, and now they were ready for more. Nira stood in the central hall, observing. "Today," she said, "we take the next step. Survival is not enough. You must rise." The humans exchanged nervous glances. Rise? What did that mean? Nira gestured to the horizon. "The enemy fleet will return. They underestimated you once. They will not make the same mistake twice. This time we do not wait for them to attack, we go to them." The room fell silent. The idea was terrifying. The humans had survived by reacting, improvising, and adapting, but now Nira was asking them to take the initiative, to act boldly against a far stronger foe. Rhea stepped forward. "We've never done anything like this, but if you guide us, we can try." Nira smiled faintly, the familiar wink flickering in her eyes. "I will guide. But the action, the courage, the strategy, it must come from you. The team spent hours preparing. Engineers built improvised drones capable of reconnaissance and sabotage. Scientists calculated attack routes using environmental hazards to their advantage. Even the youngest colonists contributed, suggesting clever ways to mislead enemy sensors using dust clouds and reflective panels. Nira encouraged every idea, offering small corrections and a wink of approval whenever someone thought creatively. When the first ships of the enemy fleet appeared over the horizon, the humans were ready. They moved with precision and confidence, executing plans Nira had helped them develop. But each action was uniquely human, unpredictable, and bold. Drones darted between enemy ships, disrupting sensors. Energy pulses from the colony's defensive systems were timed perfectly, exploiting weaknesses in the enemy's shields. Dust storms, artificially enhanced by clever manipulations, reduced visibility, confusing the attackers further. Every maneuver combined human ingenuity with Nira's guidance, creating an unexpected synergy. Kyle, the young technician who had once solved a simple drone puzzle, now directed a squad of drones through the enemy formation. He relayed commands, with confidence adjusting strategies as the enemy reacted. "We can do this," he shouted, exhilarated. Nira moved among the teams, her presence calm and reassuring. She offered advice only when necessary, letting the humans take the lead. Occasionally she winked at a particularly clever maneuver, and the gesture seemed to ignite even greater confidence in the colonists. Hours of careful planning and quick thinking turned the tide. The humans began to gain the upper hand. Enemy ships previously confident faltered as human strategies outpaced their expectations. Every clever adaptation, every improvisation, added to their advantage. Rhea led a small strike team to disable a key enemy vessel. Using a combination of drones, energy pulses, and environmental tricks, they infiltrated the ship's defense. For the first time, humans were not merely surviving. They were directing the battle, shaping it with intelligence and courage. The final phase of the battle arrived. The enemy fleet, confused and struggling, attempted to regroup and strike back. But humans anticipated their moves. They set traps, redirected attacks, and used the terrain to their advantage. Every colonist played a role, no one idle, no one wasted. When the enemy finally withdrew, retreating into the vastness of space, the humans erupted in cheers. They had done what many thought impossible. They had not only survived, they had led, adapted, and won. Nira stood quietly, watching the celebrations. She did not intervene. She had done her part, teaching and guiding. Now it was time for the humans to see the results of their own courage and ingenuity. Rhea approached her, eyes shining. We did it. All of us. Together." Nira smiled, softly, her wink hinting at pride. "Yes, you did it. Not because I told you what to do, but because you trusted yourselves. You saw opportunity where others saw danger. You acted, adapted, and innovated. That is what humans do best." The colonists gathered afterward, cleaning up the battlefield and repairing damage. They shared stories of clever maneuvers and unexpected successes. Even those who had doubted themselves earlier found confidence in their own skills. They began to understand something profound. They were capable of far more than they had ever imagined. Kyle approached Nira, still catching his breath. "You knew we could do this, didn't you?" Nira winked. "I knew the potential was there. I did not know exactly how you would surprise me. That is the difference. Humans are unpredictable. You do not just adapt, you invent solutions that even I could not foresee." Rhea looked at her team, then at Nira. "We've survived storms, attacks, and unknown threats. But today we rose. We proved we can face the impossible and succeed." Nira's eyes gleamed. "And that, Rhea, is only the beginning. The galaxy will test you again, in ways you cannot yet imagine. But now you know that your strength lies not only in numbers or weapons, but in your mind, your creativity, and your courage. That is your advantage. That is what will make humans legendary." As night fell over Erythra 7, the settlement was quiet once more. The stars twinkled overhead, distant and cold, but humanity had discovered something warmer within themselves. They had faced a galactic threat and turned fear into strategy, doubt into ingenuity, and weakness into strength. Nira watched from the edge of the settlement, smiling softly. The humans had risen. They had learned, adapted, and innovated. And though her mission in this colony was not yet complete, she knew one thing. The galaxy had underestimated humans, and that mistake would never happen again. For the first time, the humans truly understood the HFY truth. When faced with impossible odds, humans did not give up. They rose, they fought, they conquered, not through sheer power alone, but through creativity, courage, and determination. And in that moment, under the twin moons and the starlit sky, humanity's spark shone brighter than ever. The first light of Erythra 7's twin suns bathed the settlement in pale gold. The humans were exhausted but awake with a quiet energy, the kind that comes after a victory hard won. Machines hummed, drones hovered, and the air was alive with movement. For the first time, the colony felt like more than a fragile outpost. It felt alive, confident, and prepared. Nira stood on the edge of the settlement, watching quietly. She had guided the humans through storms, taught them to adapt, and led them to victory against an enemy fleet far stronger than they were. And now her task here was almost complete. Rhea approached her, holding a datapad and a small toolkit. "Nira," she said softly, "you've taught us more than I thought possible. We've learned to survive, to adapt, to rise, and now I can see we can do even more." Nira smiled, a small, calm gesture. "Yes, Rhea, you have learned the skills, but more importantly, you have discovered your strength. Not as colonists, not as engineers or scientists, but as humans." The humans gathered around, curious. Some were tired, others wary, sensing that this moment was different. Nira's presence carried a weight they couldn't yet fully understand. She had guided them through the impossible, yet she had never taken credit for their victories. "I must leave soon," Nira said. "My path stretches across many worlds. But I leave you with something more valuable than technology or tactics. I leave you with the knowledge that you can overcome anything, that humanity's greatest weapon is its mind, its creativity, and its courage." The colonists murmured among themselves, proud yet saddened by the thought of losing their mentor. Kale, the young technician who had once struggled to control a simple drone, stepped forward. "Will we see you again?" he asked. Nira winked, her familiar gesture both reassuring and playful. "Perhaps, but even if not, remember this. You no longer need me. You are capable of great things on your own." Rhea nodded, feeling a mix of gratitude and determination. "We'll honor your lessons. We'll grow stronger. We'll face whatever comes next." Nira's gaze swept over the humans, taking in their confidence, their ingenuity, their readiness. "That is all I could ask for," she said softly. "The galaxy is unpredictable, but now so are you. That is the true power of humans." The twin suns climbed higher, casting long shadows across the red plains. Nira moved toward her ship, a sleek vessel unlike anything the humans had seen. Its surface shimmered slightly, reflecting the light in ways that made it appear almost alive. She paused, looking back at the colony one last time. The humans watched silently. They had grown under her guidance, but they still felt small compared to the vastness of space. Yet for the first time, they realized that even small beings could make a difference. Even small actions combined with creativity and courage could turn the impossible into reality. Nira stepped aboard her ship. With a gentle hum, the engines came to life. The vessel lifted smoothly, cutting through the atmosphere with grace. The humans held their breath as the ship ascended, a symbol of possibility and hope in the skies above. As she prepared to depart, Nira looked down at the colony. "Remember," she said softly, "you have already proven yourselves. Do not let fear or doubt hold you back. Adapt, innovate, and rise.